realized yesterday afternoon.
I can't hear you. This is March 31, 1993, second day of the New York closed class.
No, 30th.
It's the 30th?
Yeah.
Oh, I got the year right.
You say it was the third day? Second day.
Could I ask you a very stupid
No, it's Tuesday, and it's the second day. What?
in relation to the classwork yesterday afternoon? Why we formed this body? There must have been something better. I mean, I find it
As soon as you can do better, it will be better.
Right?
Why was this my starting point?
Because you were born in a sleeping state.
No, that I understand.
Well, then you
Let's
understand
go
why
back.
you are not perfect.
Let's go back to the inception.
That is the inception.
People. The
That
first
is
one was
the
born into a
inception.
sleeping state. Then.
Right. No, you were born in a sleeping state.
Well, I'm the perpetuation.
That's right.
The initiator.
You're the growing product. You are in a state of development from being asleep to coming awake, fully awake, so that you know who you are, what you are, and you know your destiny, and you're on the destiny track. You're in a state of development, coming out of being asleep, coming out of the Adam dream.
God is
that hard to see?
No, not at all. But God is manifested as form.
God is in the process of manifesting itself as individual being. In the process of. Now, that brings me to a note I made about, I got so many notes, I don't know, we'll have to be here till next month.
Oh, fine.
Joel said something today that I realized needed clarifying in those terms. He said, God's work is finished. Ours is never done. But the fact is, he also used the word function. And along the Royal Road, and I assume everybody has read that, because that was a prerequisite to being here, because it would save me a lot of questions. God is a function, not a being, a function. And in fact, the only reason what Joel said is correct versus what I have said along the Royal Road is because principles are established immutably. That's God functioning as principle. Because God has many functions. Functioning as manifestation, and Joel once said years ago on a tape, there is no unmanifest God. And we were doing the Bhagavad Gita at the time, and that was a real puzzler. And we had to work a couple of days to break that one into the light. And I'm not going to get into it now because it's on some tapes. The fact is that for all our understanding, God is right now in the process of making its world because it is manifesting itself as individual being. So that is when Joel says our work is never done. That means that God, once it has reached the level of manifestation, its work is never done. See that? Even though it is done in terms of the principles being unchangeable and immutable and forever. Like as Joel pointed out on the tape today, there never was a time when 2 times 2 wasn't 4, depending on your language. But the principle was there, and there never will be a time when 2 plus 2 is not 4, or that it changes to become 5.
When we say that God is in the process of...
In the process of right now.
Right, is that because of the fact that we are in the process of spiritualizing
exactly
our thought, our consciousness?
As your being, God is
In the process
still
of.
in the
Yeah.
process of.
And that was a stickler for me the other day.
That's okay. There are lots of sticklers. You know, if this message were easy to understand, the world would have it, and would have had it a long time ago. And some of the philosophers of the world who got close to it would have saved the world. So far, nobody has. And nobody could until somebody like Joel came along to say, wait a minute, there's no God and. It's all God. There's only God as. And when we wake up to that, we then involve ourselves in the creative process naturally, because we simply recognize what's been going on all the time. The only reason that we don't is because form is born in a sleeping state, and we are in this process of coming awake. Story of the prodigal son. Clear? Okay. Any other burning question before? Yes.
And one, like Adam and Eve was born in this pure state, like, or should I say Adam was born in a pure state, automatic. And my thing is, I'm already perfect. If I would say my true identity already was perfection from the beginning, why can't I just come into the world like Adam did and be perfect? That used to bother me. Why did God go through all these different changes? I got to learn that, you know, that I'm living in duality. I go through all these different changes until I recognize that I always got why. Why can't I just be like Adam and just, hey, God.
How many times in the world in the last 10,000 years do you think that question has been asked? How many times?
Well, that was very
answer me. How many times?
Thousands.
And how many people have asked that question? And how many times was Joel asked it?
Trillions.
How many times was it answered?
Never.
Oh, yes. One time. One time. Joel acknowledged he didn't know. And certainly I didn't know until somebody asked me that question in a class, and where God was flowing, I took it into the meditation and handed it back to him, and in 2 seconds the answer came. Form is always born in a sleeping state. Now, if you have trouble with that, I'm sorry. Go to God for it.
Adam and Eve was like a form in a sense, but he wasn't born in a sleeping state.
No, God as individual being is first Adam, made in the image and likeness, but born asleep to his perfection, to his destiny, just like the acorn is asleep to the fact that it's an oak tree. And it has to go through its development before it wakes up and discovers what it truly is.
That's why you get food.
Yeah. Now, the next question would be a good question is, but why is form born in a sleeping state? That's the answer to why we suffer and why we make mistakes. That is the total and complete answer as to where evil came from. Came from the same place good came from. A judgment of an ignorant mind, an unhuman mind, a conditioned mind looked at its world. You see, there's another thing in the Bible. Sometimes the language in the Bible is very obfuscating rather than clarifying. For instance, and this is one of the reasons this message is hard to understand, is because we use language, and in the using of words that have lots of meanings, it's very hard to cinch down on the one that's real for that moment. Because the Bible tells us God made the world and saw that it was good. We have the master statement, don't call me good, only the Father is good. And not nobody, Joel certainly knew it, but very few people have deduced that the real, you see, the Bible is poetry, it is literature, it is legend. You've all read that in Royal Road, if you didn't already know it. If the language in the Bible had said God made the world and saw, first of all, do you realize that God didn't make anything? God did not make the world. Even the Bible tells us that. He saw the world. So that it is what you see that is your world. Like the Abraham story, who says, as far as you can see, I will give it to you. But that word see has lots of meanings. It has the meaning, for instance, when you've been struggling with an algebra problem, and all of a sudden you get the answer, and we say, aha, I see. No, you don't. You mean you understand. You follow that so far? So what he was really saying to Abraham is, as far as your understanding can go, that will be yours. See that? Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody follow me?
Yes.
All right. So that God sees the world into existence. So do we when we are working at the creative level. It's what we see that we manifest. We make those 10,000 things out of what we're able to see. The Bible should have said, God made the world and saw that it worked. Saw that it functioned. See that? Do you see the difference? And you see how confusing it is to use the word good? And along comes somebody like Joel and says you can't use the word good? And you're going to hear a tape today, not today, this week, you're going to hear a tape that really will wipe that out for you forever, but I'm not going to anticipate it. And Jesus is quoted as saying, only my Father is good. What that means, he also said, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, right? Perfecere means to be thoroughly and competently made. That's what that means. So the Bible should have translated it as, allow yourself to be perfected according to the image and likeness of your Father in heaven, which is perfect. So language screws us up. See that? Now then, getting back, however, so what is good is what works. What is evil is what doesn't work. In those terms. See that? If it functions and gets its job done according to its own set of laws, it's functional, and therefore we mistakenly call that good. When it fails and fails and fails to function, it simply is non-functional, but we call that evil. Right? The way we conduct our relationships, we use methods that absolutely will not work. And we refuse to learn the ones that do work. And yet it's neither good nor evil. It's just functional or not functional. Yeah? Now, anticipating the next question, why are we born in a sleeping state? Well, number one, God made the world that way, so I have no argument with it. However, do you know why God made the world? He didn't have to manifest himself as anything. He was lonely. We are his toys. We are his playthings. We are his sandbox. We are operating as actors in his drama that he wrote for his own pleasure. Is that too far to go? Yes.
When you said that God sees the world, does he see the world through us? Or does he see it?
No. No. He sees us through him. This world, remember, I have to say it and say it and say it. The world that you see is not real, so God couldn't see the world through you. Because what you are seeing doesn't exist. See that?
Yeah.
Now's the time for you to ask your question.
Oh, yes. When we're talking about good and evil,
Yes.
now you clarified part of it for me. And that good is a function. If it functions, it's good. But then we have...
No, I say some people call that good. I don't. I call it functional.
Yeah, well, that...
It works.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
So that, but then there are good works that we tend to do so we get to heaven.
Ooh.
Well, I'm just saying, this is, in terms of...
Why do you do good works?
Well, we do good, charity and...
Why do you do that? Why does anybody do that? Just exactly as you have expressed it. Good works.
I
know you haven't thought about that before.
Yes, I thought in terms of building up good works so that we, in my background, I still have the residue that this will be an entree into heaven.
It's wrong.
Of course it is. Especially
Give up good works. They won't do a thing for you.
Well, there is
They won't do a thing for you.
By someone else, by Descalons, which says that if you build this up, once you get to heaven and you use them up...
Wait a minute. Where do you think you are?
You have to reincarnate, so...
Where's heaven that you're going to get to?
Well, I'm just saying this is a residue
No,
of past...
No. I'm sorry. I am really tough on that. You have to say what you mean and mean what you say. Where is heaven that you want to get to? Well, you're already there.
I said this was the residue of my past
training. Throw it out.
Yes, I did. But I just said, but the point is that the question is we still have in our society charity.
But my word, if you're going to live your life by the concepts of society, of the human world, you're going to associate yourself with the walking dead.
Now, this is so. What is the? I'm asking you. What is the value of doing good work? Should we just forget it?
You don't. Look, I'm going to tell you the truth. You stop doing anything and concentrate totally on making your God contact, and then you shut up and deal. You just do what you are told to do by your own indwelling Christ consciousness. Now, if your Christ consciousness says, go to Somalia and take care of the children, you go. But not with any idea that that's a good work that will make you available for heaven. No, you're just a servant, and you're doing what your master is telling you to do. Totally different. Totally different. No, I've heard Joel get close to angry about what he calls the do-gooders, because he says it's such a spiritual error that it actually lets them believe they're doing something to help their spiritual growth, and they are not. And therefore, it's really a stumbling block. The do-gooders, not only that, La Rochefoucauld, in the 17th century, wrote an essay called Ego, actually l'amour propre, which is a slightly different, it's love of self, really, direct translation, but it's ego. And he pointed out that no matter what it looks like, every single piece of human behavior is done selfishly, for oneself, either to feel noble, or to build up merits and chits in heaven, or some other foolish reason. Whereas the real thing is, that's all an illusion. Why mess with the illusion as a value when it has no value? Unless, because there's no God operating there, you see. Unless, and the rest of that statement goes, of Joel's, unless and until one individual becomes a transparency and allows God to flow through him. And then it's all God working. I don't need to work to go to heaven. I need to wake up and realize I've never left heaven. That's what Adam does when he wakes up. He realizes he's never left the Father's house, and that it was all a dream. Follow that? Have I answered your question?
Yes.
Just think what you don't have to do anymore.
How can God be lonely?
Because he's alone.
He wants to share.
Right, he's alone. One is nameless. No name. As in the Tao, as Lao Tzu says, if you can name it, it is not it. So there is infinite. Its other name is love, and law, and principle. It's got a lot of names, but none of them is its name, because it's nameless. Those are aspects, those are functions, really. So if we can get to think of God as function, and his functions are infinite. That's one reason why God can announce itself to different people in totally different ways. Because when you make your valid God contact, it'll announce itself to you in strange ways. Ways that you can't even anticipate. And it won't be the way your neighbor has heard. One lowers its rate of vibration to become two. Now, that is individual being. And two is your soul. In other words, it has now become I am. That has a name. And it is your soul faculty. It is your awareness faculty. Those are synonyms. Now, soul, lowering its rate of vibration again, becomes mind. And that is three. And it is mind that creates the 10,000 things, all of which are not real. It's the game. Dante understood it perfectly when he called it the comet. He understood how the world works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the soul of the Christ?
Oh, absolutely. You see, soul and your awareness faculty are pure spirit. In fact, so is mind, pure spirit. But now we come to the way God made it, which is form is born in a sleeping state. So that there is a mist that goes up in the second chapter of Genesis that covers over the illumined mind, because it's planted in the ground just like a seed, and now the life force is still there, still pushing, still manifesting itself, still functioning, but it's in the ground, and now it has to do this. And that is unfoldment.
So, excuse me,
Yes.
soul is always evolving.
Soul is always... No. Yes. It's not evolving in the sense of becoming something that it wasn't.
I should say unfolding.
Even that. And this is why I cinch on this word. Soul at that lowest, at the level of form, has that mist over it. So what happens now is that soul becomes more aware of what it already is. It's like soul going to sleep, you see. And then it's born as form, and now it little by little becomes aware of what it already is. So that what changes, you can say, since they are synonyms, it's correct to say soul changes. Soul grows, awareness faculty grows, because we become more and more and more aware of reality. And as my awareness faculty grows, I do become more aware of reality, of truth, of how the world works and my place in it. And that's the drama. That's the play now that I'm involved in, is to become more aware. And what happens is I become more aware, life gets more interesting. Life gets more beautiful. Life gets more harmonious. So that the symphony, sometimes the Hindus refer to life as a symphony, the symphony adds notes and harmonies, always evolving and enlarging and enlarging and growing and growing and growing. Yes?
Is it correct then to speak about this sleeping function of God as the God of form and as the God of waking up, of this process of waking up?
Well, it's all God. So if that terminology, if that means something to you and helps clarify this whole thing, we all ultimately have to develop our own vocabulary about this. Joel has his vocabulary slightly different from mine. Paul's is different. Jesus was different. Mrs. Eddie's vocabulary was different. We're all saying the same thing, but I have a way of saying it. I am sharing actually the way it makes sense to me and the way it was revealed to me. But if you get an insight and a revelation about any of these principles in your own language, that's the language that is yours. And you can express that and be saying the same thing. Yes?
So are you saying that soul never ever stops growing?
Never.
Never ever?
No. Why? Because what is its source? Its source is infinity. So I sometimes say, so I've been asked, well, okay, suppose you're living in the fourth dimension. Are you through now and you stop growing? Never. Only when you're living the life under grace and you're living in the fourth dimension, which you can do and be right here and nobody knows you're there, growth continues, but without suffering. In the 3D world, there is no growth without friction. When, of course, your legs grow from the knee, and every time that they grow a little bit, there's heat and friction. When a tooth starts to come through, there's pushing and heat and friction, and that's why little kids cry when they're getting teeth. But in the fourth dimension, growth continues without friction. No suffering.
So you said that's a form of evolution?
Excuse me?
Is that a form of evolution?
I can't hear you, dear.
Is that a form of evolution? Evolving?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. We're gradually coming out. Joel says there are 3 major stages. The first stage is when you're the walking dead and you don't even know about the existence of God. The second, which he calls the longest second stage, is the gradual improvement of your humanhood. Third stage, this doesn't happen until you know of the existence of God. And so, as John the Baptist said, I must decrease. He is a symbol of humanhood. And as the Master said, he's the greatest of humans. But the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John. And John said about Jesus, I must decrease, he must increase. Meaning, my humanhood must decrease, my Christhood must increase. And that's that longest second stage of the gradual shucking off of your blindness and the onion skins and the wreckage from the past when we didn't know anything about reality. Over here, you know the I am. And this is a single I stage in which you think I am the human being. This is a double I stage where there's an I and a me. Over here, it's single again. And that's the I that the Bible says until when your I, not this, it's what it says, but that's not what it means. When your I is single, your body will be filled with light. So that's where we're heading. Question? Yes.
Where you have the nameless, is that the spirit? And that's what, when you achieve that I, you are part of the I am?
You always are. You always are.
Then you are.
No. Please.
On that chart, where would the spirit come? You know,
the spirit is the nameless one.
Nameless one, that's right. Yeah.
That's the infinite spirit, the source of everything. Consciousness is the only name that is really right for it. Consciousness. But so is soul spirit. So is mind spirit. And Joel taught you this afternoon, so is matter spirit. And that's in Along the Royal Road as well. Why? It is not solid. It isn't solid. We only think it's solid. If you could see what's going on inside of this desk or this right now, if we had the measurement to see the molecules whirling and whirling and dizzy, you'll know there's absolutely nothing static. Everything is movement. Huh? Is that too much to take? Yeah, well, let's get somebody else get a question. Yes.
Yeah. It was once given to me that Christianity is doing more harm than good in Africa.
I can't hear you.
Christianity is doing more harm than good in Africa.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you totally.
Good.
And not only is, but has been. I went to a retreat once near my house, a Catholic retreat, and there was a priest there from Africa. And at the table, he said to us, I am doubting that we have been of any use at all in Africa. Because many African faiths know all about that. And you see, it isn't Christianity. It's those who label themselves Christians that have done the damage. Jesus can't be blamed for the way his message has been distorted. And that's why are you sure you want me to say that? I'm going to give him a chance to change his mind. Okay, I don't have the power to edit. That's why the church has to go. It has to go. It is not doing the job that was intended to be done. It's being totally adulterated and humanized. And we have to do something different. So I agree with you, absolutely. What do you propose should be done about that?
In fact, I'm still having some unfoldments on this very topic. But when I read in your book, the Royal Road, that the missionary should have stayed at home without going out, and then you go on to say missionary work has been an absolute affront to another's right to the privacy of his own beliefs. What I want to, the first question is, will these beliefs, natural beliefs as is expressed in the book, would they be able to lift the African, let me put it that way, the African into the fourth-dimensional consciousness?
No. No belief has the power to do that. Even African belief doesn't have the power to do that. Only truth can lift. So, in our ignorance, if we are fortunate enough to come up against a great teacher like I did, who knew the truth and taught me the truth, then that truth that I ultimately come to know by experience lifts me. But that's all that anybody could do if they had the truth, in language terms, would be to take it and offer it for the Africans or anybody else to partake of it if they were moved to do so. It is the way the church went in, and what they did in Hawaii was just absolutely criminal. I hope they're not listening. And because that's exactly what they did. Well, look at Cortez in Mexico. People were put to the sword to make conversions, because that gave him good marks back in Spain. Now, the crimes committed in the name of Christianity are shocking. Most of the wars have been religious wars, where I put you to death or you conform, like it did in Spain when they drove the Moors out of Spain. All the Jews had to convert or be killed or leave the country, which some of them did rather than give up their faith. No, such a violation of the spirit in man. Everybody has Christ consciousness. How does anybody else dare tell them what they should believe? But belief won't do it. It's a place to begin. In Royal Road, the first thing we have is hope, And then the next thing we have is belief, but that isn't it, and that won't do it. It just helps us on to faith. Now we're into action. You must do something, Joel says. Not read, not listen to tapes and things like that, not even go to classes. All of that is just preparation to get you ready to do something. For somebody else, with somebody else, no, with yourself. It has to be an individual thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
But as you study, here's the thing. I have absolutely no doubt, because I have studied everything I could get my hands on, that Joel's message is the highest message on earth today. It is the truth. And when I read Christian Science, there's lots of truth there, but there's also error. And that's why when I was in Christian Science, I was very confused, because I didn't know enough to be able to separate the truth was there from the error that was there. But after I studied with Joel, in which there is no error, I have never found error in Joel, then I could go back and read Mrs. Eddy, and now I can throw out what is not valid. And that's the way it has to be for the world. It has to be one person at a time. But the Christ in everybody, when they are ready, not before. And that's why you can't be forced into spirituality. It would be unloving to do so, and God's intent is to be loving. Is to allow everyone to grow in his own pace, and then one day, by experience and learning and a little piece of wisdom here, he gets ready to be told the truth. And then God sees to it that he finds the truth message that is for him. And that's the way it works. That's the way it should work. So that what I'm hoping for, you see, I was told that I would never be a lecturer and didn't have to be and go all around the world teaching, that it was my job to bring up 20 workers who would give up their lives in the service of mankind. And that I really have much more than 20 at home. So that I've done my job. And the only thing that made me willing to come out other places is because after the books were published, I began to get letters from people, some of whom knew Joel before I did. And I found out they didn't know how to practice. They didn't know how to extract the principles. They literally had not been taught. And so when they wanted me to come here, when they wanted me to go to Chester, which I'm going to in May, when they wanted me to come to Zurich, I felt I owed them that. I owed Joel that. I owed my God that, to see if I could clarify some things that would make it easier for them to practice. And that's the way that you can do, is get deeply trained into these methods and then share them wherever you are invited. And that's what I hope all of you do. Above all, at least have a tape meeting. Start a tape group. And let Joel's tape be the teacher. You will be serving man if you do that. Does that answer all your questions?
Very much.
Okay.
But the last one is, as infinite wave student, I know these gods in Africa have no power.
Yes.
But what my problem now is, for instance, the stool of a clan is considered as the soul, or the rallying point, or the symbol of unity, let me put it that way, of the clan.
Yes.
Now, if I go back now to Africa, unfortunately, I'm from the house of the head clan,
Yes.
The chief's house.
Yes.
There are certain things they will have to do for my safe arrival from America.
Yes.
Things that I know are not let me put it that way, spiritual, or they are not of any effect.
Yes.
But
what do you do?
That's right.
It's a very good question, and it's one that I get all the time. I had it this morning, as a matter of fact. Joel once said to me, when I was complaining, about having to deal with the absolutists, because he has taught the infinite way is not an absolute message. Christian Science is very absolutist. And it's very hard to shake people loose who have been thoroughly trained in Christian Science from wanting to be absolute. And so I'm ashamed to say this, but I said to him, can't I just exclude them from my class? And he said, no. He said, I was put under orders, never seek a student, never refuse one, and you're under the same orders. I said, but what do I do? He said, I'm sorry, you have to be acceptable to them. I said, I what? Yes. You have to give milk to the babes, and you have to do it in a way that they will accept. It would be unloving to do otherwise. So that when you are in a human situation, you know, we're an underground. We're a spiritual underground. So we don't go beating drums and standing on street corners and saying, we have the truth, come and get it. Or we don't go with swords in and say, take it or I'll kill you. You find yourself in a human situation, and if you know how to work in the silence, you work in the silence. And in the meantime, what you have to do, unless it violates your soul, in which case you have to split. But if it doesn't violate your soul, then you have to use the double talk of the world to deal with people in language they understand. And I have had to do that, and there are other people who've had to do it, and that's the way to do it, is that you have to be acceptable. And if you're only planting seeds, that's enough. Huh? You're not responsible for their growth. You're only responsible for sharing and responding when you are asked. Is that clear?
It's very clear.
Does that answer your question?
Very well.
Don't worry about having to use the double talk of the world wherever you are working. If you're with lawyers, you have to use legal language, etc. But all the time, you can, within you, you know, it's God's business. And you say, you know, open their eyes if you want me to give them more food. It's not up to you to open their eyes. You just share what is acceptable. And let God do the rest. He will. He will. It's just amazing. You heard on the tape this morning, Lily, when she went into a work situation that was very hostile. And in, you know, a very short space of time, she had changed the atmosphere. And that's just by pouring the oil of love and God blessing and God blessing and forgiving and forgiving. And it changes people. And it's the only thing that does, as a matter of fact. So if you go there and just love everybody, and I don't mean that in any corny sense. I mean get out of the way and let God flow. And then He'll change them. And then they will accept a higher level, and then they will accept a little more, and they'll accept a little more. Then the next thing you know, you have a student body. Okay? Anybody else? Yes. Oh, wait, Harriet, you back there, this lady. Yes. Is it Kathy back there? I can't see.
I'm Kathy.
Yeah.
I want to be...
I want you to speak up, please, or you don't get on the tape. And then when people buy the tape, they say, why don't those people talk loud enough to hear? I want to hear what they say.
I want to verbalize that I'm very glad for the orders that you are under, because I'm one of those renegade Christian Scientists, and you have me whether you want me or not.
I can't hear you.
Okay. I'm one of the renegade Christian Scientists, and you have me whether you want me or not.
Okay.
I've got, and this I don't mean frivolously, and I don't mean to be absolutist, because part of the attraction here is that you speak very humanly, so to speak. When you say things like God wants, and
like God what?
God wants something.
God wants, yeah.
God wants you to do this, or God is a gentleman. May I assume that you're speaking poetically?
You took the word out of my mouth. Of course it's poetry. And I don't claim to be a poet. It's a metaphor.
That's what I'm...
Yeah, metaphorically, absolutely. I mean, you know, to say God wants is ludicrous. How do I know? I have to wait till I hear what He wants. However, by virtue of what he has done with my life, I certainly know some of the things he wants. Or it wants. I know some of the things. When the minister asked me, what do you mean you do as you're told? Who tells you? And I said, God tells me. He said, God tells you what? He was outraged. And I said, yes. And he said, well, that's not Presbyterian. And indeed it isn't. And that's just too bad. You know, if I'm going to live my life by what the Presbyterians want me to do, or anybody else except God, I'm off the path. So that nobody but God tells me what to do. Since my teacher left this plane, before that he told me what to do, and I did it. And he was right. So it's a process of learning, Kathy, and I think that answers your question. It's metaphorical language. I mean, you know, if I were to sit here and teach the truth, that can only go from consciousness to consciousness. And I couldn't use any language at all. And then I would have to say about your questions, it's all human and nonsense. Those questions are not relevant. They all belong to the 3D world. And then I wouldn't be of much value to anybody. Because what I'm trying to share is how to get out of the 3D world. Why? And your question, your statement, God is in Africa, yes. But God is not operating there. It's like the sun is shining in Africa, but if they stay in their buildings, they will not receive the sunshine. And so, you know, I not only have found that to be true, but before I knew it by experience, my teacher told me. There's no God operating in human affairs. In human affairs. And it took me a long time to figure out why that was a true statement. Because you can get God to operate in what looks like your human affairs, only when God is operating them, they're not human anymore, even by definition. But again, definition, human, what does human mean? Human means the unillumined consciousness. As Joel said yesterday on the tape, the unillumined mind, the conditioned mind is by definition human. The human mind consists of the belief in good and evil, which is an error. Anybody else had a hand up? Yes.
Yesterday, when we had to do the assignment, and
speak up.
We had to do the assignment, and man is born in the hypnotized state. Does that refer also to the unborn baby in the womb?
Oh yes, oh yes, of course. Anything human is born in a hypnotized state. Why? They are born into the world that is run by hypnosis. You know, it's as if England has a king. Well, it doesn't have a king, it has a queen. If you go and become English, you are under the law of the queen. Right? Because that's the way that world works. Now, the whole human world is a state of hypnosis. It is a hypnotized world. If you're born into it, you are born hypnotized. And Joel has that on many and many and many a tape. You are born into a hypnotized state.
Before the baby is born, it's hypnotized.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Not only is it hypnotized, but it brings its whole karmic script with it on its tape recorder. And the minute that it gets out here in the air, it begins to unreel that tape and create the events that are controlled by its karma. Not hard for anybody to accept? Then you'll have to read more of Joel.
I'm laughing. I have to laugh at this because he said when a baby comes out, does he come out in a state of sleep? And one of the doctors came to speak to the teachers in the school in early childhood, and he said, I can tell you about different babies that come out. Some are born this way and some are born. And some babies come out and they're smiling.
Right.
Some other people
and are easy births.
Easy births.
Some have hard ones.
And some so one of the girls said, now tell me what babies is that you're talking about? He said, I don't mean no harm. Now wait a minute, I don't mean no harm. I just want you to know that the Caucasian babies, they come out smiling. I said, but when the black babies are born, they come out and say, come on, let's jump. Jump. That's just a joke. But I mean, he was saying that.
That's a generality.
Yes, it is a generality.
The births that I have attended recently, that have been on the part of students of mine, and they seem that everybody's getting pregnant. They slide out.
Yeah.
Oh, they just come in and smile, But the mothers are operating to some degree in the fourth dimension. Right. Somebody else had a hand up. Yes. Now, Harriet, speak up so I can hear you.
I wanted to ask if what you said before about not being really selfish.
No, you started off fine, and then you go down. Breathe deeply. Speak loud enough so I can hear your mistakes.
Okay. I wanted to ask if it was selfish to, in this particular state or level of our awareness, if you come in contact with a person that seems to be very negative all of the time, is it kind to try to keep a little distant from them, or should we recognize and try to see the absolute truth about
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. Did everybody hear the question? Mm-hmm. Okay. It goes back to Kathy's question yesterday. Preference. Without judgment, without criticism, being able to see that the reason this person is behaving this way is because that is where they are in the scheme of things. And God doesn't have them in a different place, which he could in an instant if he wanted to. Kathy, that's metaphorical. So that if, you see, you don't get angry at the blind man that bumps you.
Excuse me, I have to interrupt you. You said God has them in this place which they wouldn't be if he chose not to.
No, I said he could move them to a different place if he wanted to.
But don't they have haven't they brought themselves?
Oh, you see, Kathy, what you got me into? Let me withdraw all that, okay? Because it really is a different subject. He is where he is because that's where he is. And since God is manifesting itself as his being, poetically I can say that's where God has him. Right? In other words, literally, God has only manifested itself into this life that far. All this is dark. Follow me that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that he is who he is, what he is, where he is, because that's where he is. And it may be that he's only the little plant with two little ears, like in the parable of the acorn. God says approved. Approved. But maybe approved, he's blind. I mean physically blind. So the statement is, we do not judge nor criticize the blind man who bumps us, but we're stupid if we don't get out of his way. Right? If we stand there and let the blind man, you recognize he's blind, you recognize that, and you're not asking him to be different, so you're not judging him. But if you don't get out of the way, as Joel says on a tape I think we'll play this week, you must do something about the appearances, the discordant appearances. You have to do something. You don't just ignore the negative, discordant pictures of the world. You do something about them. He said, otherwise it's just to say, oh, well, let God do it, and God won't. Why? Because he's manifesting himself as your consciousness. He's an active principle. But do you have to choose to be with that person? No. No. You have the right to choose roses over lilies without judgment. And above all, though, don't try to change him. That is a spiritual error. First of all, you will never do it. It will never work. That's God's business. The only person we can change is ourselves and our reaction to the pictures of the world. Will that answer your question?
Yes.
Somebody else had a hand up earlier that I haven't responded to yet. No? All right, then I want to talk on the blackboard. I've so far put 3 principles. These are the things I want you, I hope, that you will take away with you from this week. There'll be a couple of others probably. But those principles there, if you really will work with them every day until they're part of your flesh and bones, you will make giant steps. If you understand how the world works, and that's how it works, and that is a visualization of the ancient wisdom. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and from the 3 come the 10,000 things. 10,000 things is the perceptual universe. That is all you need to know about how the world works. Now, I'm going to show you why it's important. This has to do... Did everybody get a chance to copy that down if he wants to? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to erase it then. This is the explanation. I'm going to reverse this now and put it on its side. This is that. This is soul, more awareness, which becomes mind and creates the 10,000 things. This is our human world, which is filled with misery, unhappiness, as Joel says in his Christian Science language, sick, sin, and suffering humanity. Now, here is where we look for a spiritual teacher for help. We get a call, I'm sick, or I'm dying, or I need a job, or I want to get rid of my husband, or I want to be a wife. Whatever it is, all of that takes place in this drama. This is the drama. Where is it written? Here. God does not write the drama. The soul faculty does not write the drama. The mind makes your world. How does it make it? What kind of world does it make for you? at the level of your awareness. That's the kind of world you make. Now, I'm suffering lack. How can you go back here to solve your lack? It doesn't know anything about it any more than the law of mathematics knows when you have made a mistake on your algebra paper. The law of mathematics just goes on being itself. 2 times 2 is 4, even if you're working with 5. Doesn't judge you nor condemn you. It just is itself, waiting for you to wake up, understand that 2 times 2 is 4, and conform yourself to the sunshine that is always to the law, to the principle, to the laws of God that are always being showered on the world. So that this is why there's no activity outside of mind. This is illusion. This is your projector, theater projector, and you're throwing an image on your screen, and that's what you see. Now, what do you have to change? You have to change the film in the can, right? You don't have to go back and change the man that invented the projection machine. You follow me? Mm-hmm. And that's why Joel says one day they will wake up. And it's all a question of a wake up and increasing awareness. One day they will wake up and realize that that image that's causing all the trouble, the appearance, is not out there. It's in their own mind. And that's why the hard statement that Joel makes all the time, it makes people feel bad, don't take your problems to God. You cannot go to God for things. Don't go to God to pray for money or automobiles or houses or jobs. He doesn't know anything about it. This is the work that God has done that is done. See that? Now, while it's all God, still continuing to develop, and this is an awakening consciousness, not consciousness. We make the mistake of using consciousness when we mean awareness, and Joel does it and I do it, but it's a mistake. This is consciousness. That's awareness. We have to... Forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Nobody was listening.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the point is that you have to, it's only the truth that you know that makes you free. That is a picture of truth. And if you can't accept it, if you can't accept that there's no activity for you outside of your own mind, then you'll just have to do what I had to do until I could accept it. You'll stumble along, still hoping to look to a God to fix a situation that he doesn't know anything about and never will know anything about. We have to know the reality that it's all done in the mind, and it is the mind that has to be changed. How do you change your mind? By discovering truth and accepting it and letting it become your flesh and bones. And now the mind imbued with truth continues to make your world. Got that? Is that hard? Well, it's harder than you think. It's hard. We wouldn't have taken 30 years to do it if it were easy. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the awareness exercise. I'm not going to go into this as thoroughly as I have in the past, because when the tape catalog is done, there will be 3 or 4 awareness exercise tapes that you can have in your home and work with on a daily basis. What I want to do and hope to achieve this week is one thing only, and that is to convince you that you have that faculty, and that it is not your mind, and that when you want to reach God, you have to use that. You see, mind stops at the level of awareness. It is exactly what Dante did in the comedy, when he has Virgil, it's in the book, so you should have read this, which represents mind, takes Dante through Inferno, through the Purgatorio, and then he has to leave him because mind cannot take him into paradise. So the symbol of Beatrice comes, which means divine love. Beatrice is exactly in Italian what that means. She has to take him into paradise. So that is your soul faculty with which you make contact with the infinite source. You can't do it with the mind. You leave the mind at the door. Is that clear? Okay. But I will ask you if anybody tried the exercise and what happened. Yes?
I felt a tingling in the part of the body that I can hear.
Okay. Now, what I asked you to do was to be aware of your ears, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened when you did that? Did your ears tingle?
No. My ears felt like they were getting large.
They were getting bigger. You were doing very well. Anybody else have that experience? Did you have any pictures in your mind of your ears? Well, then you were not using your awareness. You were using your mind. If there is an image, if there is dialogue, you are not using your awareness. And that's the difference. You're using your mind if there's any image. You must, and I'm not going to dwell on this because it's on some tapes. Little by little, you have to learn the difference. And maybe we'll just for a second. Anybody else have anything they want to share about that? Did you do it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looked like the devil just kept, I'll say, in doing it, I did it. No, it spoke loud. I had to get away from everything to do it because I wanted to speak loud and it was tight.
Right.
But I did it.
Well, wait a minute. Why do you want to speak? Oh, you're talking about recognition exercise. No, I'm talking about the awareness exercise. Awareness exercise, where I said practice being aware of your ears, then practice being aware of your nose.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened? Did you do that?
I did that going across, did it this morning.
Who did not do it?
No.
Everybody tried? Nobody tried. You tried. What happened?
Left early,
What happened?
We didn't hear it. We weren't here for it.
What do you mean you weren't here for it?
We left early.
Oh, you left early.
So
Well, but you've had the tape for months, so you know what it's all about.
Yeah.
But remember how long it took you to believe you had the faculty?
Yes.
It has to be worked with. And then finally she caught it, and it worked. Yes.
So the coaching you're giving us, if for me my mind clicked in all the time, if not a mental picture, I was thinking, we go back and we just quiet that.
You have to tell your mind, you have to love your mind. It's a marvelous instrument, but its limit is reason. And this is not a thinking exercise. This is a feeling exercise in which there is no thinking at all. If there's any thinking, you're still using the other tool, and it will not work. Now, everybody struggles and says, oh, if I could only meditate, this is a shortcut to meditation. This is a real shortcut to meditation. But you only know the first step of it. And before the week is out, I'm going to show you the 3 steps, and then it'll take you a couple of years to get to where you can practice it. But if you do, I've had students in a class, first time it was ever given to us, there were 10 students who hit the silence in one session. And they've been, sweating for 20 years to try to meditate. So this is a tool that will work. But you do have to work it, and you have to be simple about it, and you have to be willing to stop thinking and to give up the idea that you can reach God with your mind, which you cannot do. Nobody can. Anymore, yesterday I tried to point out to you that you cannot use the wrong faculty to do something you wanted to do. You have to use the faculty that God designed to do that. You cannot see with your ears. You cannot hear with your eyes. You cannot reach God with your mind. You reach God with another tool named awareness.
So if you are using your mind, and that occurs to you, okay, I'm thinking and it's not the awareness faculty, then what? How to make the transition from using the mind to using
Well, number
the
one, you
awareness faculty?
decide to be simple. You decide to be very simple. And if necessary, you talk to your mind and you say, you're a wonderful instrument, and I love you, and I use you, but this is not your time. And you just put it down. And you pick up the other two.
How? I mean,
by practice. By number one, recognizing that if you think or have an image, you've picked up the wrong one. Put it down again. And pick up awareness. Making the demand on the unknown will give you results. All of you who have read The Royal Road know my illustration about when I was trying to learn to sing. And she said, well, you're going to have to learn to, I don't remember the exact language, but use the diaphragm. And I said, where's my diaphragm? I didn't know I had one. And she said, well, just make the demand on the unknown, and one day you'll get hold of it. And I made the demand. I kept trying to use my diaphragm. One day it clicked in. You have this Christed intelligence within you that will perform for you and teach you how to do it when you are determined and when you are sincere. And when you don't.
So the main ingredient is to be willing and to be trusting.
Exactly. Because you have the faculty that's already planted in all of us. The faculty with which we touch God.
So what I'm picking up is that it's not something you can tell us. It's something we have to discover for ourselves.
Right. Because it's
you can only tell us that there is one.
That's right.
And we have to discover what, how.
That is exactly
the particulars
right. I can help you a little bit.
By making the demand on it.
I can help you a little bit with telling you how it works with me and how I found it. God taught me this. I didn't know it. Came through in a class, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. As I say, I hit the silence, and 10 people in the class hit the silence in one session, in one class. And in Yosemite, when I did it again, some people, they were absolutely flabbergasted, because one of them said, I've been trying to meditate for 10 years. And I never could ever get to the silence. Now, how do you know you're in the silence? Because it's silent. And it brings with it the conviction you know where you are when you're there. Okay? But we're not going to do that till the end of the week. I'm going to give you another chance to practice this one. Close your eyes. Now be aware of your right foot. Anybody not able to do it? What happened? Don't all speak at once. What happened?
I couldn't. I could focus on my foot, but I.
Focus is mind.
Okay.
It is not that. This is focus, and this is be aware.
Okay, then being aware, I mean I can see my foot down there.
No, you don't see it. If you see it, you're using the mind.
So I just want to just know that I'm on.
Just, you know something. I once had an algebra teacher. He was a genius, and I loved studying with him. And he said to me one day, they don't fail algebra. They fail the English language. They don't know how to read a problem. Meditate on the word aware. Just meditate on the word aware. And see how it differs from think. Because you're going to have to develop within your own understanding the difference between think and aware. They're not the same word. Who else? What happened? Come on. Roberta?
My foot started to tingle.
Excuse me?
My foot started to tingle. There's a sensation there.
You felt your foot. You didn't see it, right? No images.
No.
Okay. Would you say that you were being aware of your foot?
Yes, by the sensation.
I can't hear you.
Yes, by the sensation that I felt.
Yes, you felt it. And it was your right foot, right?
Yeah.
What was happening to your left foot?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing. I didn't feel anything.
It wasn't there, was it?
No.
Okay. That's right. Be aware of your left ear. Okay, what happened?
Your mind just focuses
Yes.
on one
There's
thing.
nothing but the ear.
That's right. What happened to your foot?
Gone.
It's gone. That's right. That's it. And that is to show you that you have the faculty of awareness, that it will go where you tell it to go, and it will do what you tell it to do. Now, why is that important? Because one day you will tell it to be aware of God, and it will obey you just the same way. Okay, that's it. Practice that, and love your mind, but tell it that you're doing something else right now. Don't fight the mind. It's better if it won't let you alone, get up and go about your business, and then sit down again for 5 minutes and try again. This is a skill that has to be developed if you want to walk in the fourth dimension. And before the last day at least, I will prove to you why you have to know how to get into the silence in order to
So
make it
to
work.
develop it, you just practice these exercises.
That's
Say,
right.
be aware of, fill in the blank.
Yes, fill in the
Close
blank.
your eyes until you get
Well,
the feeling of that
okay.
to the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah. For instance, let's go back for a second and feel your right foot. I didn't mean feel. It is a feeling exercise, but I mean be aware of your right foot. Everybody do a little better that time? All right, now be aware of your right big toe. Everybody do it? What happened to the foot? All right.
Only the two was.
Huh?
Only the two was there. Only that big toe was there. The foot itself disappeared.
Only the big toe was there.
Yeah, right. And the foot was gone. Because this is such a precise tool that it will do exactly. Now, come here, I'm going to show you. All right.
That's amazing.
Now, be aware of the toenail on your right big toe. Do it? What happened to toe?
I was only aware of the presence. I started to be aware of that. I don't know about
So you're not doing the exercise.
No,
That's
I was-
your business if you don't want to do it.
No, I did. I focused as you told me to. But then I was just aware of a presence within me.
Okay. What happened to toe?
Gone.
Go away? All right. Now, be aware of the edge of the toenail on your right big toe. Did you do it? You see how small it'll go? You can do it with the organs of your body. Be aware of my stomach. Be aware of my intestines. Be aware of my heart. It'll go wherever you ask it to go, and be aware. Yes.
But it never draws. It's supposed to draw a picture. Because to me,
If you have an image, you are still using the mind.
so I just become aware of it, and then I'd be able to just sit on that particular
Just
object.
aware.
just aware of it.
Just aware. You see, we don't know what aware means. Because, number one, it's a faculty no human being has ever used, except possibly in the cosmic consciousness level, poets or musicians or somebody like that might have been in touch with his muse, which would be the awareness.
When you become aware, do you be concentrating on the third eye, like from the center, or do you just...
No. First of all, you don't have any idea what the third eye is. Don't think about it. Don't try to find it. Forget that.
Okay.
There's more charlatanism done under the name of third eye and taught under the name of third eye than you could possibly imagine. Forget it. I want to go back to this image for a minute.
Well, what's a good length of time to try this exercise?
Well, number one, you should be in a quiet place and be quiet. Don't do it for a long time if your mind doesn't leave you alone. Frequency, short periods, is better, far better than to fight your mind. But you just have to get the practice of putting it down, picking up the other one. And you have it, it's there. But we are not aware of our awareness faculty. We're only used to using the mind for everything we need. We've learned everything we've ever known as human beings through the mind. That's the only instrument we know we have. We have another one. It is another sense, if you will. You see?
Is this what Joe calls the soul faculty?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a synonym?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your awareness faculty is your soul faculty.
So would that also be with spiritual discernment? Is that the same thing? Or
No,
is that
but it will
something
bring you to
distinct?
spiritual
Yeah.
discernment. It will teach you spiritual discernment.
So is that another faculty beyond this?
No.
Or is it another aspect?
No, everything you learn is part of the whole. But your awareness faculty, your soul faculty, will teach you spiritual discernment. It couldn't come from any place else. Couldn't come from the mind. Could it? It certainly couldn't come from the body.
Yeah, right.
No, your teacher is your soul faculty. Your awareness faculty, those are synonyms. But soul doesn't do for this exercise what awareness does. Because awareness is active and nobody knows what soul is. This is how you can get hold of soul, is through seeing it as an awareness faculty. Right? Can we quit? Okay.